Hello, everybody. A very, very warm welcome here to the Wine with Jimmy channel. Delighted that you could stop by on this wine educational channel. So we do lots of wine education here designed to really just help those of you that want to learn something about the world of wine, but also really importantly, we structure a lot of these presentations to help you pass your wine examinations. So we give you a lot of the content around the syllabus to really bring it to life so you can enjoy it more, understand it greater, and pass your examinations. So welcome here to a series for the Diploma WSET Level 4. This is on Central Italy. Central Italy is split into 6 wholesome series. And we are here on series 2, in fact. Sorry, it says series 1 there. So I'm going to just get rid of that for you. But we're here on series 2. And series 2 is looking at the appellations of Toscana. There you go. So we are looking at the appellations of Toscana, and it's a massive multi-part series. We've got 9 here, 9 whole parts, and we are on part 2 of 9 here, looking at Chianti Classico. Part 1, part 2, this one, and part 3 on Brunello is available as free content, but parts 4 through to 9 are only available on my e-learning portal. That's over at www.winewithjimmy.com. If indeed you have any questions or comments or concerns at any time, please do pop them in the comments section below this video. Click like and click subscribe, because the like helps us, the subscribe helps you, because it means you'll never actually miss an update. Also, if you'd like to get in touch via social media, you'll see the bottom of every slide. All right, let's talk about Chianti Classico. We're going to go through where it is. We're going to look at geography, topography, geology, all those kind of things, and we'll bring it all together with a lovely Google Earth video. Here is the map of Tuscany. You'll see that I've identified here the generic area in light pink is Chianti DOCG, but the dark Storico, the historical area, is Chianti Classico in that middle area. It's a very hilly zone which is situated between the 2 cities of Florence or Firenze and Siena. The vineyard area for Chianti Classico is somewhere around 5,500 hectares. You will see people talking about 7, 8, 9, or even 10,000 hectares as well, but a lot of that, it goes into Toscana IGT. So what's actually classified for Chianti Classico is somewhere around 5,500 hectares. So yeah, this is the area in greater detail. The area is delimited by the towards the east by the Monti del Chianti, or the Chianti Mountains, and by the west by the Elsa Valley. Okay, so the eastern side you have the Chianti Mountains, and you have the Elsa Valley towards its westerly side. Chianti Classico, as you can clearly see here, is actually spread into a number of communes, and you have 9 of them in total, of which we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Florence, in the province of Florence, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 in Siena. Okay, so all of those, if to go through those, we have Castellina, which is over here in Siena province. We have Geole in Chianti as well. We have Greve in Chianti, Rada in Chianti, and then we have the likes of Barberino, Valdelsa, Castelnuovo, Bertenga, Poggibonsi, San Casciano, and that's in Val di Pesa, Tavonelli, and all of those as well. So you see them all up here. They're all these villages. You're not going to need to know the villages, but it is produced from 9 communes in this area. Okay, so what does it look like? You'll see lots of pictures. Now, typically the vineyards are higher than generic Chianti, which is below 300. The range here is 200 to 500 meters as we go towards the Monte di Chianti, so the Chianti Mountains. The elevation will contribute to the cooler nights, which lengthens the growing season, which promotes more concentration, more acidities in the final wine style. It is a gentler and longer growing season in this area than, say, generic Chianti. The wines are fine and elegant, but with good structure behind them. The soils that we find here, I have already discussed on the opening series of Toscana, because we talked about the likes of Galestro and Albarese. But we'll mention them again here because it's important for the Chianti Hills. So we have a Galestro soil, which is on the left-hand side, which is a schistous, crumbly rock with a little bit of clay and mudstone called marl. And then we have on the right-hand side, Albarese, which are really sort of clay and calcareous soils. So these are much more water retentant soils you'll see on the right-hand side, but fairly fractured as well, as you can see in that picture. You'll also find interspersed with Albarese lots of sandstone and also the likes of sand. Now, both of these soils, both of them have fairly decent drainage and sufficient water retaining capabilities. Galestro on the left-hand side is said to give much more aromatic wines and tends to perform in terms of wines with more ageability. Soils with clay tend to give more rounded, structured and bodied wine styles. The work is mainly done on these poor soils on hillsides. A lot of it is done by hand, and of course this raises the cost of Chianti Classico wines. Regulations here. So the wines are stricter in regulations in terms of their minimum amount of Sangiovese than generic Chianti. We talked about generic Chianti at 70% minimum Sangiovese, some of the subzones at 75%, but here it is a minimum of 80% Sangiovese. Typically, the wines are 90 to 100% Sangiovese today. The varieties that are used for blending are the likes of Canaiolo, Colorino, and international varieties like Merlot, but you'll also find Cabernets and Syrah. No white varieties are allowed in the blend here. So this has been ousted since 2006. It's still permitted in generic Chianti, but not here for Chianti Classico. The maximum yield is 52.5 hectoliters per hectare. That's some 10 less than generic Chianti. The hierarchy here, first of all, we have the standard Chianti Classico DOCG. This can be released no sooner than October in the year after harvest. So this is around a year of aging before release, around 12 months-ish for Chianti Classico. Okay, then we have Chianti Classico Reserva. So Reserva must be aged for 2 years from January the 1st after the harvest. So you're looking at probably something like 27 months of total aging, and that's it's quite classic. So Chianti Classico Reserva. And then we have something called Chianti Classico Gran Selezione. Now, this is at the top of their tier, but it's relatively new. It was founded in 2013. It's a new designation. Now, this is where the grapes will hail from a single vineyard or an estate that is owned by the producer. And it's aged for a minimum 30 months, but it has no age requirement in wood. So the aging levels here really are somewhere around 1 year for Chianti Classico, somewhere around 2 years just above for Chianti Classico Reserva, and then 30 months minimum for the Gran Selezione. with this one, the jury is out whether this works for Chianti. Not everybody is adopting this process. A lot of people actually believe the best way to go for Chianti is to actually start to look at the villages, the communes, those 9 communes, and look at the differences in terms of geology, geography, topography from those villages. Instead of aging mandation or single vineyards, they're looking at the villages. So there's a bit of a debate about the right process for Chianti. So the style of Chianti Classico, there are a range of styles, but we'll go through the typicity of Chianti Classico. The importance of the export markets and the, of course, importance and prominence of Super Tuscans in the 80s and 90s led to wine being made in a style which was quite international for Chianti Classico. Deeper colors, plummier character, and that, of course, is with more use of Merlot and things like vanilla from the oak characteristics. But the recent trend in the last 20 years has been to move back to more of a wine of tradition and elegance. So Sangiovese dominant, paler color, sour cherried fruit characters, and restrained oak character. The wines, though, typically across the board, will say that have a medium flavor intensity with some pronounced examples. The prices are mid-priced up to premium, and typically wines are very good to outstanding. Good producers, Castello di Ama, you've got there, but also the likes of Isoli e Elena, Fontodi. We had a map of those, a picture of those earlier as well. Okay, let's have a look then at a video of this area, because we have to, and it's fun to look at the of this one. Now, if you've seen video 1 already, which is on the generic Chianti appellations, I go through the cities here in a bit greater detail to give you a real good feel for the area. But here we're going to look at really Chianti Classico and its villages. So there you'll see is Tuscany in the white lined area, Toscana, the beautiful land of it. The red expanse there is the generic appellation of Chianti DOCG, which we went through on the first video. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to focus on the historical centerpiece there, which is that yellow area, and this is Chianti Classico. There you go. So Chianti Classico DOCG. We're going to show you where it's positioned between. So the north of Chianti Classico is the city of Firenze or Florence that we looked at in greater detail last time around. And then in the southern section right there is Siena. So in between Florence and Siena, okay? To the east is the Chianti Mountains, and to the west is the Elsa Valley. Now, there are those villages we mentioned. We're just going to have a bit of a fly by looking at these villages from the likes of Castelnuovo that you'll see just here. But you'll get a good sense as we go through these villages of the landscape here. It's hilly. The topography is very hilly. Remember, we're at about 200 to 500 meters of altitude. The ripening here across these villages, remember, is gentle, longer. You've got the higher altitude that gives you very cool nights, and you're able to get better purity in the wines. Castellina's just come up there, Castellina and Chianti, the full name of it. And then you've also got a beautiful amount of acidity behind these wines, a good tannic structure. The physiological ripeness of Sangiovese here is greater than other parts because of its longer growing season. But look at the landscape. So you've got hills, forests, you'll have lots of cypress trees, olive plantations, and of course vineyards as we go through all of these. Montefiorale just there as well. And we're jumping even more north here to San Casciano. And I think that's all of them. Yeah, so that really gives you a good idea. You don't need to know all of the single villages that we find in Chianti. It's not a need to know, but it gives you a good sense of the location that we saw just there. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this video on Chianti Classico DOCG. Please do join me for part 3 on Brunello do Montalcino DOCG. with all the same trimmings. So annotated maps, lots of information, and of course the Google Earth video at the end. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please do get in touch. You can do so by emailing, or more likely, actually, use the social media at the bottom of every slide, or of course, comment on this video below. If you're in that area of commenting, make sure you click like and subscribe. The liking helps us, the subscribing helps you. And if you find yourself in the United Kingdom, please come and see me at one of my establishments for a class, a glass, or a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now.